Oh, hello, hello. Music just stopped. Good evening, everyone. I'm glad you could join us tonight. And listen, we're going to talk about that there's no such thing as toxic masculinity except when women wield it. But for the most part, we're going to stick with the first part of this whole thing. Even before I talk about the exception, I want to let you guys know that there is no such thing as toxic masculinity. And every man who allows somebody to say that his manhood, his masculinity, something that's natural to him is toxic, you should be one of our champions telling people, right, nip that kind of crap in the bud. It's just simply not true. And it's all part of propaganda. All right. How you doing, Mr. Bennett? How you feel? Hey, listen, but yeah, David, yeah, show this. Yeah, just throw this up because I want to just get right into it. What I want to do is go through a few things, and then whoever wants to come up, if they come in, let's chop it up because I have four videos I like to show you guys, and I'd like to talk to you about, and I want to get your opinions. But first, let's talk about every so often. I used to, starting in the pandemic, I want you to, don't try to read this. I just want to let you know where it comes from. When the pandemic hit, one of the things I did was I wanted to start writing a little bit, right? I'm not saying my writing chops are all that great, but I wanted to put some of my thoughts on paper. So I started this booklet. I got like maybe 10 different uh, um, different stories in that booklet, and I call it "Just Thinking Out Loud on Virtual Paper." And during the pandemic 2020, the first one I wrote was on technology, and it was titled "On Technology." And I told what I thought that technology saved us from a fate worse than death when we had to separate from each other. Technology allowed us to communicate with each other. It allowed us to get products and goods and services to and from our home, and actually kept us a little bit safe while we were trying to figure out how bad this pandemic really was. So technology came in as a great favor to us, and I wrote about that. So that was in the book. So then I came across this whole push, and it's been around for a while, where the propagandists started telling men that being masculine somehow was toxic. And then what made it worse is I could see black women and women in general trying to buy into the bullshit. But really made it worse was when men started to repeat this idiotic notion that somehow being a masculine man is toxic. That's crazy. And to see men championing this thing was bothersome to me. So I wrote this piece on that there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. And so I'm gonna go through this first paragraph with you, and and then we could chop it up after you guys come up. Listen, okay. So this first paragraph, one of the things I'm gonna just digress for a second. I always wanted to try to somehow make sure that the first line that I write is somewhat on par with something that would keep people to read the whole article. And it brings me back to the greatest secular line in a book that I ever read. And it was The Best of Times, It Was the Worst of Times by Charles Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities. I don't think I've ever read an opening line any better than that. And if you're a Christian and you're non-secular, of course, your best opening line was in the beginning, God created heaven and earth. All right, so let's take religion out of it. Put your feet back in the secular territory. That's the greatest line. So when I wrote this one, I said, well, how can I start this conversation? And then it brought me back to this record that was in 1984. And the record started with, Where Have All the Good Men Gone? That was back 40 years ago. Right. This line comes from a song called "Holding Out for a Hero" by Bonnie Tyler. Some of you heard it, some of you may not have heard it. It was pretty popular. So even if you're black, you probably heard it once or twice. If you listen to the lyrics to the song, it might be deemed inappropriate in these days since modern society has been on overdrive trying to kill masculinity in both men and boys. Right? Masculinity is defined as a set of qualities, attributes, characteristics, or behaviors or roles associated with men and boys. Traits, such as uh, traditionally viewed as masculine in our society include strength, courage, independence, leadership, and assertiveness, just to name a few, right? Hey, how you doing, JT? Listen, many of these traits are under attack in modern society in the name of diversity and fairness. In an attempt to level the playing field between men and women, the goal is to eliminate gender roles in all facets of life, especially marriage. It's not it's not enough for women to have equal rights as they would with men, as they should. Actually, they should with men. We should have equal rights. I agree with that part. But the end game is to declare that men and women have there's no differences between us and that we're the same, right? Which is complete and utter BS. Okay. Just to digress a little bit, I saw Ebony K. Williams in her new podcast. She was in, I get Earn Your Leisure, did another interview with her. And she's starting to get it now that I think she has a surrogate and she's going to have a baby. And she's still looking for a partner. She never says the word husband. She's looking for a partner. But part of the interview, she talked about the natural differences between men and women, right? She named a few attributes of men. She named a few attributes and what women are looking for. And it actually made sense. Okay, Ebony, you're on the right track. And then she said, this is the inherent conflict between men and women. I said, well, she really hasn't learned anything because that's not the conflict. That's the natural order of things. Because what you described as man and what you described for women is exactly the way it's supposed to be. It's a synergy. It's not a conflict. And the fact that she doesn't understand that, even at her age, is kind of like, damn, send an asteroid. She's an intelligent woman. She should say that's not a conflict, right? So, because she's still looking at life through her own prism, that if she wants a man in her life, he's got to be able to bend to her will as much as she would bend to his. And ain't no man at that level gonna sit down here and genuflect to your ass, okay? He's just not gonna do it. Well, anyway, so so getting back to this, right? Just so many moving parts to cover here. I'm gonna just go with one central aspect. What has brought us to this dreadful place? And of course, it's due in large part to the goal of feminists to break the patriarchy, right, and install a gynocracy. Something that they'll never do, right? It sounds good, but it's not going to happen. You know why? Because the puppet masters are men. It's the patriarchy that lets the gynocracy actually live because of commercial reasons. So I just want to say a couple more things, and then we could ask people to come on up. And that's my little piece. And I've obviously I've cut out a lot of it, and then I can get back to this human nature thing in a minute. Okay, but I just wanted to say a couple of things. Right, one, I mentioned the song "Holding Out for a Hero," and I want to read the first couple of lines of that song. Oh, down to the refrain, and I want you to hear it. I want you just to hear the words, and then we could go from there. All right. Okay, so listen, where have all the good men gone? I could sing it, but I don't want to break your eardrums. Where have all the good men gone? And where are all the gods? Where's the streetwise Hercules to fight the rising odds? Isn't there a white knight upon a fiery steed, right? Late at night, I toss and I turn, and I dream of what I need. I need a hero. I'm holding out for a hero to the end of the night. He's got to be strong, he's got to be fast, and he's got to be fresh from the fight. I need a hero. I'm holding out for a hero to the morning light. He's got to be sure, he's got to be soon, and he's got to be larger than life. I need a hero. Okay, so whoever has a question, just wait for a second. We'll answer your question later on. But the point really is, you know, what are you talking about? What kind of women, you know, can actually give this man that they want what he wants? If I asked the women of the past, what would you do to have a man like this? What would you be willing to give him? The lionesses will have a whole bunch of things to say, right? I'll give him respect. I'll nurture his children. I'll give him exclusivity. I'll give him, access to me. I'll take care of whatever his needs are. I'll cater to this kind of guy because I know in return he'll do anything to keep me not just safe, but keep me, keep the burdens of the world off of my shoulders as best he can. So that's the kind of stuff. But if you ask the hyenas of today, they can't even answer that question because they're so used to not thinking that they could come into a situation without ever doing anything for a man. They would want a man like this, and so they could sit on the couch and eat bonbons all day. So you got to search for the lioness who will respect a man like that. So you wouldn't even be able to have a song like this nowadays because nobody would appreciate it. There's a rapper, and I'm gonna just digress for a second. Somebody asked him, a rapper, I think it's 21 Savage. I don't know what kind of rap he is. I never heard one song from this dude, right? They asked him, how come men don't make love ballads anymore to women? He said, because all you bees are all hoes. So we're not doing that. That's what he said. That was his answer, right off the cuff. Now, whether you agree with him or not, that's beside the story, but that's the mindset of some modern men towards modern women. And that's probably in the circle that he lives in. That's not the circle that most of us live in. I hope none of us feels that way. But anyhow, so listen, the other part of this is the only time masculinity is toxic, and I'm gonna draw this to a close because I want some people to come up. We could talk about it. That's why I'm talking kind of fast. That's only because guys keep browbeating me that I take too long when I talk. Anyway, the only time masculinity is toxic is when women wield it, right? Because at the end, because it takes them out of their natural state, right? That's why and they do it by choice. There's nothing out there that makes them become masculine. That's just bullshit, okay? And I'll tell you why. Okay, so their excuse is because now that they're self-sufficient and they got to work hard and they have to, there's no good men around, like they say, and which is also bullshit because I consider myself a good man, right? And I might be out of the market, but I'm not a unicorn, So when they say that, I cringe because it's not true. They just can't recognize a good man when they see it, or they reject a good man because he's not some kind of clown in the street, stroking all the honeys. All right, so there's that. But here's where they really say they have to be masculine. It's because they got to take care of all the kids that they procreate for guys they don't like, right? And the reason why that's horseshit, and the reason why it's horseshit, because, and I'm gonna put it to you this way: when's the last time you heard a man who raises his kids by himself because a woman's out of the picture saying, "I have to be feminine to raise my children"? I have never heard a man say that. Now, there's probably some clowns somewhere on the internet that have said that before, but I've never heard a man say, "I got to be feminine to raise kids." So this whole notion that they have to be masculine to raise kids, it's just bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So let's get past that. You can miss me with that. I don't agree with that. And there's a couple more things I want to say before we get going to the whatchamacallit. Uh, Listen, the most powerful thing. See, a lot of women are like this because they think being masculine makes them equivalent to men or better than men, or because they have this feeling that men are superior to them. And in some ways we are, but it's mostly physical that we are, right? Because a woman's femininity is probably one of the most powerful forces on the face of the earth. And so I think women are missing out because the real world and literature shows us that a woman's femininity is something that men, go to war for. They give up everything for. They had a king in the Bible who sent one of his best warriors on the front line to die so he could have his wife. They had a guy who was the strongest man on earth because God ordained him with the power, and they put it in his hair. And the first time he slept with the woman of his dreams, he told her his secret, and she had his hair cut off and his eyes blinded. Right? There was a president who some random chick showed him her ass cheeks, and he couldn't stop having her blow him, right? There was a Boston Celtic coach who was a multimillionaire who could have stroked any woman he wanted, but instead he stroked the woman who was a wife of a VP in the organization. So listen, men are not in control the way people say we are, especially the sexual marketplace, because the femininity of a woman could be controlling if it's willed the right way. It's not toxic; it's just natural. And so, in order for women to say, and that's the propaganda. I would never, I never heard the term toxic femininity, right? Because it sounds kind of crazy to say femininity is toxic in any way. So the fact that people readily repeat toxic masculinity is because the puppet masters made it popular by propaganda. And not only did women buy into it, so did men. And this is just all bullshit. It's all programming, and it's time to make it stop. So I see Trey, you're in, and you know what? Just because of you, I'm gonna shut my soliloquy down real quick so your ears can stop ringing and shit, and we can get to the conversation. You know what I'm saying? Hey man, welcome aboard, brother. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, all right. So what? I have a couple of videos. I have 4 videos. I got to see who's in the chat. And we can. I want to start playing the videos. If we get a couple more guys up here, that'd be great. Go ahead. What you got to say?
No, I mean this is just another one of those things that have been used to create division. The way masculinity was explained to me, and is that it can't be toxic. And the reason why it can't be toxic is because if you say that there's toxic masculinity, then you have to describe the other forms of masculinity. And anytime you ask anybody else the other forms of masculinity, they have nothing to say to you. They can't tell you what the other forms are. They can only describe one form of masculinity that they consider to be toxic. In the 80s, they used the word toxic masculinity to describe gay people. In the 90s, they used toxic masculinity to describe all the violence that was happening. Psychologists came up with this, with all this violence that was happening inside the prisons. They were trying to explain it. So they came up with toxic masculinity. In my opinion, is no such thing as toxic masculinity or femininity. You just have masculinity, you have femininity, and then you have toxic people. Now, could you put the two together? Sure, you could, but it wouldn't necessarily describe exactly what's actually happening in front of you. Because at the end of the day, you just have toxic people who happen to be men or women, and that's how that goes. But if you ask anybody, okay, well, if there's such a thing as toxic masculinity, describe to me the other forms of masculinity. The conversation's dead right then and there because they can't do it. It's the same way if you have a race discussion with somebody and they can't get their point across, they just call you a racist, right? That's just how that goes, right? So it's the same concept. But to me, there is no such thing as toxic masculinity, just as there's no such thing as toxic femininity. This is just something that psychologists came up with because they were too lazy to actually go into the prisons and figure out what was really going on.
Listen, I hear you, and I agree. And one of the things it'll come back to me. I have something I wanted to say on that point, but I'll get back to it. Hey, man, Red Planet, what's going on, Mars? What's happening? What you
Hey,
got?
what's up, Arpane?
Yeah, what you
I,
got
I I
on?
think I think it's a bunch of bunk. There is no such thing as toxic masculinity. It's just an agenda. It's an agenda going on, and I was on like looking at a video on YouTube earlier, and the guy on there, it was a guy on there talking about passport bros, how they're victimizing women and they're using women and abusing women so that they could abuse women, and I'm just like everything that men do is going to be, used against them. Like everything we do. I mean, everything we do, they want to make us the boogeyman. They want to make us the villain. And this toxic masculinity piece is another example of them trying to make us the villain, trying to make us the bad guy, especially black men. I land my plane.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there too. It's just one of these kind of things that I just think that it's just all part of making men and women. In order for women to be propped up, right? They somehow they feel instead of just women building themselves up, they got to break the man down and emasculate them in such a way that the playing field gets closer because the men will start denying some of their natural state. And I think what's worse is that men start agreeing with that, and And the women themselves recognize the fact, because the same hyenas who want men who think there might be toxic masculinity are the same ones saying, "Well, where's all the good men?" They say, right in the same thing, the same voice. The men and shit, they this and that. We're all the good men. Well, you said you don't want them, right? Because most men who are good, understand that masculinity is not toxic or not. Just toxicity is a character flaw. It's not a natural flaw, like for masculine or feminine. That's why, like I said, femininity is almost never associated with toxicity. Man, I have a video where a woman says that, by the way, but she's using the wrong word, and I want y'all to see that when we get to it. But okay, since we got y'all, let's go with the first video. Um, Black David, if you can put that first video on, and I want y'all guys to see what a woman, how some women view toxic masculinity. So I don't want to get too much in what you're going to say. I want y'all to see it and we can react to it. So when you get ready, Black David, the first video, please. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Says we are superior. Do I have to remind you that men build this world? That house you live in was probably built by men. Know your place. This video is for educational purposes only. Today, class, we're going to be talking about toxic masculinity. Let's define it. A set of attitudes and ways of behaving stereotypically associated with or expected of men, regarded as having a negative impact on men and on society as a whole. Some people's ideas of manliness perpetuates dominance, aggression, and homophobia. Like this comment, men overpower women by a lot, and half the men you're talking about are the soft baby ones like them gays. The comment is true. There are countless articles that suggest that people who are homophobic fear their own impulses. They may not be accepting of others because they cannot accept themselves. But Chastity, why does toxic masculinity exist? This dates back to thousands of years ago when dominance and aggression was used to fight and hunt. Those behaviors carried over into modern times, even though they're not needed but still promoted. And it's no surprise that men overcompensate when their masculinity is threatened. There was a study done, and it was found that men with baby faces, for example, were more likely to have assertive and hostile personalities and commit crimes than their chiseled counterparts. Men who were told they scored low on masculinity tests were more likely to act aggressively, harass women, and belittle other men. The need to overcompensate isn't an us problem, that's a you problem. Whether you're overcompensating for not being as tall as you would like to be, or displeased with your male genitalia, or lack of skills or duration in the bedroom. That lift kick on your truck and those hours spent lifting weights at the gym won't change anything. There are lots of comments like this one in the associated video. So which part of that video emasculated you? Was it the part about needing your mommy instead of a girlfriend, or was it the part about not knowing how to properly wipe your tush-tush? Either way, your comment comes from a place of fear. Fear that someday women may treat you as y'all have treated us. Take care now. Bye-bye then. He says we
Listen, you guys tell me what y'all think. I had to put one up there. I just had to. Okay.
She's an angry chick, man. She got a lot of low key anger behind all that stuff, man. I mean, you could tell it, like the way she this and that. And I mean, it's just ridiculous, you know. She's very, very angry at men.
You got something, Trey? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's hard to take women seriously if all they're going to use is shame tactics. The entire video was nothing but shame tactics. So it would be a legit video if she came with some facts, if she came with some studies and cited her sources. I would be able to take her more seriously. But all she did was shame men and talk about, well, these men act this way because they're compensating for something, which is ridiculous. I'll put it this way. One of my time in the military, I was never taught to not be aggressive and not be dominant. I always ask the question of the women, what kind of man do you want protecting you? If you want a passive man, then go get one. But I guarantee you he's going to get his shit rocked. Because I've seen it happen, right? You want an aggressive man and you want a dominant man. The question is which direction are they going in with it? But this idea that you're going to get this guy who can just flip a light switch and turn into Jean-Claude Van Damme overnight, that is not how it works. It is a part of you. It is who you are. And the fact that you want to refer to aggression and dominance as being toxic, and say it's toxic masculinity, it's ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous. But I'm not surprised. Like I said, that's a typical tactic for women. And when they don't know anything else, just shame the man.
Yep. Hey, listen, one of the reasons why I put that there is exactly for this kind of reaction. The sign language was all over it. But to use the caveman days for the guys who had to go hunt and kill for food for the community, how the hell are you gonna call that toxic? The only thing that's changed now is men have to go out and earn their way in life. And maybe you don't need a spear, but you're damn sure your head and the way you view the world has to be sharp. You can't just be some wimp and think you're going to get somewhere with acquiescing to everybody. So and then you got a Little Johnson.
The man that owns the company
Yeah,
of the weave that she bought, I guarantee you he's aggressive and dominant.
no doubt.
Because that's how you get to the top of the business.
No doubt about it.
All that weave she got in her head, she bought it from some company that's more than likely owned by a man, and that man is aggressive and dominant. I guarantee he is.
Paying the women, cutting all that stuff off.
Exactly.
Minimum wage.
Exactly. But it only when it's beneficial to them. When it works for them, nobody gives a shit. But when it doesn't work, all of a sudden now it's toxic.
No doubt. Hey, Easy Money Jones, I see you in the back there, man. If you can, get your ass up here, man, because I need a contract.
Yeah, put your cape on and come on up here.
Yeah, come on up here. So listen, so that's what I wanted to put that one there. I wanted to at least kind of balance this out and see where the women are coming from, because every woman who believes in toxic masculinity, they pretty much sound like her. No sources, no nothing, just a feeling and all this kind of stuff. And they keep riding the propaganda. And that does them no good. Emasculated men doesn't do the world any good. It just doesn't. Anyhow, so Black David, let's get to the second one. Let's get to the second video. If you give him a chance up there. Got CBMU's in the house. All right. Who else is in the house? All right. Here's the second video.
3 toxic masculine traits that girls actually crave. Number 1, stoicism. Now, I'm not saying to be completely emotionless, but as a man, you got to keep your composure. Learn how to keep all your energy levels down in your nuts. Think of a mountain. Even in the strongest storm, it's grounded, immovable. Number 2, assertiveness. Sometimes as a man, you'll need to be strong enough to lay your foot down and say, you know what? No, this isn't healthy for our relationship. Number 3, now culture always says women need to be independent, that they need to be a boss, you know what? And they get women thinking things like, you know what? I can pay for my own meal. I say stick to tradition. It's never failed us, men. Don't be a soy boy. Always pay for your girl's meal.
All right, so that was a short one. I'll let you guys go first. Now he got it wrong, because what he said, none of that shit is toxic. So, however, none of it's toxic. So let me get that one out of the straight. But I put that there just to show you that sometimes men get it wrong, and he kind of blew his whole argument by using the word toxic to something that men should have. Now, the last one could be debatable, but assertiveness, there's nothing toxic about that. And the first one, whatever he said, be stoic a little bit. We had a whole thing about stoicism up here once before, and there's ways to be stoic and still get your point across. But go ahead, guys. What do you got to say? Yeah, you could go first, Trey. Yeah.
No, I mean, you said what I was gonna say. Being assertive and being stoic. I don't even know what the third one was. What was it? What was the
He
third
was just
one?
talking about pay for the first date, that kind of stuff. So we could throw that one out. That could
Yeah,
be
being
debatable.
assertive.
I'm one of those guys, but you know, everybody not like that in a
Well,
lot of different
that's
ways.
a lot of the problem. A lot of the problem is that we got to stop doing things the old-fashioned way for these women because they're not old-fashioned women, and you gotta start to meet force with force. If these women want to act that way and want to claim that assertiveness and stoicism is toxic, then we need to meet force with force.
Yeah.
Let them pay for the date. Let them pay for it. Let they want to be independent. Let them do it. This whole idea you're gonna force this stuff down their throat. These women are not like the women of old. I don't know what this dude was talking. I was sitting here thinking I don't know what he's talking about. But this is also another part of you know why they need to get rid of TikTok. They need to ban TikTok in the United States because fools get on here and just have a platform to say a bunch of nonsense, a bunch of crap. I don't even know what he's talking about. Stoicism and assertiveness are
Yeah.
toxic now.
He
Since
definitely
when?
got it.
I
Yeah.
you don't want the guy who's shy. You're not gonna go out there. The shy guy's never going to approach you. The
Right.
shy guy is never going to talk to you. You want the guy that's assertive. You want the guy who's going to come up to you and talk to you and tell you, "Hey, I think you're beautiful. I like the way you look. I want to get to know you. I want to take you out. I want to do this." You want the assertive guy. You want the guy.
I mean,
Being
absolutely.
assertive isn't always correcting someone. I don't know
Right.
why we always get that. Oh well, he's assertive and you want to do this and he asserted his authority. That's not always the case. I don't know. Man. They need to ban TikTok in America.
Go ahead, Bars. What's up, man? What you got?
That, that's what's going on now. You know, a lot of guys are apologizing for being men nowadays. You know, just like that video I talked about earlier. You know, they're going around and marching for the feminism harder than the women are. You know,
True. Yeah.
it's getting really crazy out here. You know, just like if you make a certain comment in public, you know, hey, that's a nice, you know, nice looking woman, or you know, she's a pretty chick, or whatever. I mean, they try to get you canceled, take it off, and get you out of your position just because you complimented a female. You know, it's getting to the point where the men are becoming that way too. They're talking about toxic masculinity. They're talking about the patriarchy and women are being oppressed and all this craziness, man. It's getting out of hand, and it's an agenda getting pushed, and you know we got to push back against it.
Well, listen,
Definitely.
besides Easy Money Jones, if there's any woman wants to come up here and explain to us what they think toxic masculinity is, I'm willing to entertain that kind of conversation too. So we got to get some brave chicks, man, to come up. You know, where's Anissa when you need her? She'll come up and give me a whole bunch of reasons why better toxic. You know, anyway, besides that, you know, listen,
All they gonna say is when they come up here, all they're gonna say is that any man that puts boundaries and restrictions on them is toxic. They're gonna talk about Jonah Hill. They're gonna talk about Jonathan Majors. They're gonna talk about these guys who said, "I don't like it when you do this," and they're gonna say, "Well,
mhm,
that's toxic. He won't. He's telling me I can't do this and I can't. That's toxic. It's not toxic for a man to put boundaries on a woman within a relationship." Here's the great part about being in a relationship in 2024. If you don't like the boundaries, you can just leave. You can just walk away. Nobody's making you stay. But if you think that you're going to get into a relationship with a man who has something to lose, who has a reputation, who's built himself up, no, he's going to tell you this is how it's going to be. And if you don't
right,
like that, then go date the broke dude who ain't got no standards. I
right,
don't understand these women. You want to date men who are wealthy. You want to date men who have, but you want to be able to run them in the ground like they're fucking puppies. They're not puppies. Men have to work their ass off to get to that point. You're going to do it the way they do it. It's their way or the highway, but you can get lost. I don't
yeah,
understand these
exactly.
men. I don't understand their mentality.
Well, and, you know, I think here's what I think. I think there's too many men, even with who have men of the means, who have acquiesced to some women when they shouldn't have. You know, okay, okay, real facts step to the plate. There you go, there you go. Thank you,
I know who
VMU.
wrote that.
Yeah, I know who wrote that too. That's cool. Come on, bring it on. It'd be nice. You know, easy money. I wish he'd come up and say what he got to say. Mr. Root.
There is no solid argument, Arcane.
No,
All
I
all
know.
they're gonna talk about is the negativity. But was I toxically masculine when I pulled somebody out of a burning car? I was assertive. I was dominant. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like when that guy stole your purse and I chased him down and got your purse back, was I toxically masculine then? Like they just pick and choose, bro.
No, I hear you. We got a third video. We got 4 videos, so we got 2 more. I'm gonna throw up the third one so we can keep talking. So, black man, when you're ready, throw up the third video. Throw up the third one. You know, it's kind of funny because I just think that since I was married for such a long time, people think my wife somehow is really subservient to me. You know, like I forgot that she's a woman. You know, and I talk about that a lot, right? But we'll get back to that.
Yeah, because I want to speak on that.
We have to remind.
Not this one, the third one. Not this one. There's a third one in there. I hope we got it. Oops, something not working. Yeah, click that button. You might have to refresh it or something. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
It's not toxic masculinity that's destroying society, it's toxic femininity. Women are to blame for shitty men and their shitty dating lives. And it's because of the rise of the toxic feminine. Women are inherent life breathers. We possess the superpower, which is the ability to bring life into this world. That means we are responsible for breathing life into everything we touch or destroying it. The toxic feminine destroys because her main motivation is to gain revenge on men. If you have a shitty man or a shitty dating life, it's because you are creating it. You're breathing life into shitty men. You're enabling shitty behavior. You're building an ecosystem of destruction.
Who wants to go first? Mars, go ahead.
Man, you know, some of these women, man, they just gotta be real, man. Just gotta keep it a buck. You know what I mean? Out here, you see the results of what's going on out here. So many men are just walking away from the whole situation. It's just or they're going, to get their passports. What can you say? You know what I'm saying? Like these women, a lot of guys are walking away and just had enough of what's going on out here.
Good, Trey.
She's not wrong in what she said, but that's not toxic femininity. Again, there is no such thing as toxic femininity. So she's not wrong. What she says is correct. Outside of the life thing, I've never understood that. A woman can't have a baby without a man. I've never understood this. You cannot have a baby without a man. You need a man. We have the spark of life. You incubate life. You don't bring life into this world. You can't do that. It's a combination of two people that bring life into the world, right? I have the sperm, you have the egg. The two have to meet. That's how this whole process gets started. You don't just do this by yourself, and I don't do it by myself. I bring the spark, you bring the incubation. That's how it works. I don't understand it. She's not wrong in what she said. I do agree with her in the sense that women can speak life, can breathe life into men, or they can destroy it with their words. Even the Bible talks about the power of the tongue. So I agree with her there, but that's not toxic. That's not toxic femininity. I'm not completely sure why she thinks that that's what that is. But again, these are buzzwords. This is a buzzword thing that people like to do.
What's up, what's up, black man?
I'm not black man. Hold on a second.
Black David, I mean, okay. What's up, Black David? Go ahead, man. What you got? CBN?
How would I put this? I've watched a lot of these videos, including this one. The first thing comes to my mind is this. This woman is speaking nothing but the truth, what's going on in today's society. And I have to remove the filter from my mouth and just say this. Any woman who watched this, who is completely allergic to the truth, is the ultimate bum. Plain simple. I don't care about your emotion, because your emotion based on decision bring disaster. To be honest with you, will. If you can prove to me throughout history that any decision motivated by emotion was a great decision, I want to listen to you. Otherwise, shut the hell up. That's number one. Number two, the idea of when bring to life after we betray, it takes two to create life, not one. The Bible says you, with the power of you could speak life or death into a situation. The idea that I'm seeing some of the retarded, uneducated buffoon in the chat room talk about how I'm being oppressed for history. Do you actually read a history book, or you one of the type of people who cut classes and hang out on the street and get your cheek clapped? Which one is it? I don't know. I'm in the mode of literally destroy your self-esteem to that nothing left in you mode right now. Because when I'm like this, I'm that person who is triggered to strip you bare so that nothing left. So you can see the truth for what it is and check yourself in the mirror. This is why a lot of strong men are walking away from idiotic bumps. I said it before. When it comes to female, there are women, lady, female. Now I add another class, bum. Figure out where you stay in because most of you guys are not really women. You're not mature enough to be a woman. You may be in a lady to try and be mature or you fall down being a female. If you lack any kind of maturity, you're more like a bum. Pretty much. And I said it. I could care less how you feel. If you come at me with the emotion that you prove to me you're actually a bum. You have no solid intellect. There's a saying in our country, which is totally true. I'm sure you're gonna like it. In our country, they say the empty barrel make the most noise. Let that sink in. An empty barrel make the most noise. Which means you don't have something in you. So when you make all that noise and a hoorah, when I look inside you, I don't see shit in you. Why should I look into an empty barrel that have no substance, that have no wisdom, that have no insight, or got nothing? Nothing but a bum. So that being said, I will treat you like a bum. Okay?
All right. Hey, listen, let me just add, the only thing I really thought that she should, if she would have said feminism, toxic feminism or toxic feminist, then she would have been on point. It's not feminine, it's not femininity that she's talking about. So, I just wanted to put some different variation on a theme. And both the second two people both understand that they just use the wrong terminology, because assertiveness and being stoic is not toxic in and itself. The last one is a debatable thing about men and dating. I leave that one alone. I think a man should do what he thinks is right on the date, period.
Let me add to that. Is it toxic for men to be masculine to join the military and fight for people's freedom?
No, I mean, well, first of all, let me say on that point,
I didn't hit my head just now, and then I thought about it.
but
It's
let
about
me tell
toxic
you, before you go
masculinity.
further, Black David, on that point, our fighting forces are being emasculated too. It's not just all this other shit. It has infiltrated the military. There's a high-ranking military official that's a transvestite. They're spending money on having drag queens give the military men shows. As soon when they got rid of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, that was the beginning of the end for the kind of military that we would really want. You want guys to be just nasty and mean, and they're trying to change that. So I don't know, man. Technology also is the only thing that's saving us from having to get down in the trenches and fight some of those crazy ass guys.
For how long?
You want to fix these problems? Put the women in the draft. Make them have to go into the military and make it so
I second that motion.
that they can't get back office cushy jobs like nurses. Put them right in the infantry. Put them right in the infantry
I
with
second
the
motion to
bullets.
that.
Let them get trench foot and all of that type of stuff. Let them see how tough it really is.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you will see a change. Make it mandatory, or What I would do if I were president, I'd make it mandatory that they do 3 years, 2 years, or 3 years, like South Korea does to the guys. You would have a choice if you are a female, whether you are born one or whether you transition to one. You going. You're going 3 years in the military, because what I see is I see a disrespect from men, and you want to label it as toxic masculinity when that very same toxic masculinity that you claim is what's keeping you safe at night.
Thank you. I agree with
So
that
no, 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 no.
1,000%.
You need to go learn. You need to go see and learn what it's like to be in a situation where you feel like you are really in some despair and you don't know how you're gonna get out of it. You need to hear some bullets whizzing past you. You need to hear some loud explosions. It needs to change you so you can understand what the men actually do that keep you safe in this country. Remember, there are people dying to get in this country. There are not people dying to leave it.
That's true. And listen, in Israel,
I totally agree.
the women have to do time in the military in Israel, just like the men. They actually have to do training. I believe they have to sign up. So
Same
it's
in
not like
Russia too.
yeah. Well, so that means there's precedent for it already. So we don't have to coddle the women. They certainly need to be, when they hit 18, whether we send them on the front lines or not, they should be subject to the same draft responsibilities as the men.
I got one even better. If by 25 you are not married, you do 3 years in the military. The only thing that will save you is that if you have a husband, and I'm talking a heterosexual marriage. You're lucky I'm not president. You're lucky I'm not in the Senate, because that's the type of stuff I would be pushing for. I get these women in line in a heartbeat, because I'm gonna put you in a situation where I believe in results. I'm gonna put you in a situation where you're gonna have to show and prove. Oh, y'all got it like that? Cool. Put a rifle in her hand. Let's see how good she is now. Go stick her out in the middle of Washington, right now, stick her out in Washington State in the middle of January. Drop her off in a location. Give her a compass. Give her a go bag, and give her some tools, and let's see if she makes it back in 3 days. That's some of the training I had to go through. Let's see how good you are at catching a rabbit or a squirrel and eating it. Let's see how good you are at that.
Trey, let me add to that. They didn't say there are far more women than men in the United States right now. So you got more than enough women to join the military right now. Isn't that
They've
so?
always had more than enough.
They've
always had more than enough, but I gotta give the women credit where credit is due. When they were working their 19th Amendment, when they were working their voting rights, they worked in the fact that they would never have to sign up for selective service. Remember, initially, in order for them to get their voting rights, they had to sign up for selective service. They opted out of that and said, "Well, fine, we won't vote." And they waited a long time, and then when they revisited it, they said, "We don't want to have to sign up for selective service." They wound up working that out. So that's why it is the way it is, that women don't have to sign up for selective service, because it was put in with the 19th Amendment that they don't have to do that. But that's why I'm saying repeal the 19th Amendment altogether, repeal it, redo the whole thing all over again. If you want to vote, you need to go into the military. Plain and simple. And if you're not married by 25, you definitely going. You mandatory going.
So
well,
hold on. I want to respond to Eden Money, because they're trying to make this illogical. If that's just the case, then every man who don't want to serve the military, who will fight for your freedom then? Since we are toxic, you might well have the women fight for your freedom then, because there's so many people want to invade this country, and for someone who never been in the military, have anyone related in the military, if you could make such a statement like this, I want to ask you a question. Since there been a huge decline in the military draft, who want to fight your battle for you now? I know you're not going to. You don't have a warrior spirit in you. So who go fight your battle for? Please be logical, but don't be stupid to me right now. I'm not in that mood whatsoever.
Let's just make this simple. Everybody serves. Plain and simple. Boom. There you go. Men, women, transitioning men, women. I don't care what you are. Everybody goes. Problem solved. Easy money. Everybody goes. But I guarantee you, there's only going to be one group of people that are going to have a problem with that.
That's right.
The men are just going to go do their 2 years and go back home. But the women are going to cry and complain. I guarantee it.
No doubt about it. But listen, with CBN, right? Can't you tell by now when this guy's trolling? Can you tell? You got to be able to tell when he's trolling.
I know when they're trolling. I'm from Brooklyn. I know, but here's the thing. From Brooklyn, we know how to roast weak ass trolls who got no spinal cords. If you come to my neighborhood, we roast to the point that you get kicked out by the neighbors in the neighborhood because they know you're weak. So if you think you're a troll, please show me. When I roast you, and when I look at you afterward, they'll say, "Man, you're not even a person anymore. You're an alien." Keep it pushing.
But, yeah, this is true.
I'm on Brooklyn mode right now.
Hey, bring up the last video. So let's get them all up in the, and let's just do it. Mars, if you're around, you'll pop back on.
All right.
There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. There's just masculinity, and not enough men are masculine. So they just attach toxic because they want to create this whole thing where men stay feminine and beta.
Yep.
That kind of actions should happen more often. If more men got pissed off and actually handled like a real Shiva, we wouldn't have all the simping and stuff that's going on in the world. We just don't have enough men that are have the huevos enough to actually do it. And the fact that he will be that aggressive with just his business, how much more fiercely is he going to protect you and your children and your empire, etc., etc., etc.
What's more, is it the brains because he's making the money, or the balls because he's putting it on the line that's attractive,
It's the
or is it a
web.
combination of both?
The combination.
It's a combination.
He's like,
but-
it's a combination.
But no, it isn't.
Let me tell you guys.
But the balls, because most men are, there's a lot of men that are making hand over fist cash like he is, but they don't have the huevos like that.
All right. What do you think, man? So finally a woman came out and said, you know what? Woman with a nice pair of jugs and everything came out and said, you know what? I need a real man. I need a hero. I need a hero through the morning night and shit. You know, that's what she needs, right? Somebody bust these cheeks right and be a man about it. You know, tell her shut up and do your thing, baby. Anyway, anybody who go ahead, man, Mars, you got anything on that one?
I want to go first because what she's saying totally true. Because this past week, they talked about how the brick lady was complaining that black men don't protect women. Now, what did women just say just now? Even like the show in the chat room, don't need to be defended by no black man. If she getting attacked, we should sit down, get a chair, get a popcorn, get a drink, and watch what happens, and not make a move. Since toxic masculinity, that's what we're going to call it, then by all means, we don't deserve any single ounce of protection, period. And I will tell you, I will watch you get your ass whooped, and I will not save you. I won't even call the cop. I'm going to go sit down and watch. When it's done, I'll keep it pushing. So let's be critically clear here. And any woman who run her mouth calling men toxic masculine, by all means, you don't deserve any ounce of protection from any strong black male, period. That being said, your life is in danger. All we should do is ignore you and keep it pushing. You're not no longer our responsibility anymore. You keep saying toxic. Don't call the cop. Figure it out your goddamn self. You keep calling toxic, don't call the FDNY. Figure it out your goddamn self. You want to keep calling toxic, don't call the plumber or the AAA to fix your car. Figure it out by your goddamn self. You cannot figure it out and you can keep one in your mouth, then you are empty. There's nothing great about you. You are an empty shell. You are an empty barrel that make the most noises. With me, you are utterly useless. As you call back in Africa, undesirable element. Look it up in the dictionary, see what that means.
Who's next? Anybody go?
Yeah, like when a lot of these sisters say they want protection, a lot of that is code word for I want you to crash out for me. I seen so many instances out here where chicks be starting stuff, starting issues, you know, running their mouth when it ain't really necessary, nasty attitudes when it ain't really necessary, and they want to call somebody to crash out for them. You know, starting stuff or gets them excited or whatever is the case. You know, the brick lady made this whole story up about getting hit with a brick. Was no brick. It was all this stuff looked like it's all orchestrated by her in a way that we could make it look realistic. Now the police have caught on to her. Now she's on the run, you know, according to what the police said. And you look at these situations, and you see, man, a lot of this stuff is based off of fantasy-driven stuff. They want somebody to beat on their chest and run up on somebody for what? You know, a man need to focus on his paper, on his money, on his dollars. These women, they basically looking for you to crash out, looking for you to do all this crazy stuff, and it's just to entertain them, man. It's entertainment for these chicks, man. I've seen it too many times in Baltimore. I've seen it too many times outside of Baltimore. It's too much, man. It's that's what they say they want protection. It ain't really about protection, man. They want a guard dog. They want you to crash out. It's a high. It's an ego boost. I land my plane there.
Yep, I agree with her. Let me tell you why I agree with her. I agree with her because I've said this before. The women are empowered because the men are weak. There are a lot of weak men in this country right now, and that's why the women are doing what they're doing. So I do agree with her to a point. A lot of guys don't have the huevos to do the things that need to be done. At the end of the day, until the men decide to get stronger, until the men, and when I mean stronger, I mean mentally, physically, and sexually. You got to be able to walk away from these women. Leave them be. Until that happens, we're going to keep having the same nonsense. You have got to put these women out in the cold. That's how you got to do it. That's the only way they're going to learn. You got to put them out to the cold. That's the only way they will change. These men aren't paying us any attention. So you see a lot of women crying and complaining about the passport bros. Why? Because they're putting them out in the cold and leaving them behind. That's the only way to do this. But until that happens, until you can get them. I just saw a video, R-Pain. I got to send it to you. You might like that one. Woman made $1 million in 48 hours on OnlyFans. Shit like that, we can't fix these problems. Till we can fix a problem like $1 million in 48 hours is insane. And she was average looking at that. Until we are able to change problems and issues like that, this is just a revolving cycle. This is going to keep happening. But at some point in time, we have to stand up as men and say, this is it, no more. You either do it this way or you get left behind.
So Trey, though, for her to make $1 million on OnlyFans, that goes to two things. One, women are saying I could forego any real work and I could just use whatever attributes God gave me to make money. And men are showing how desperate they are because they ain't get. I can't see a guy who's readily getting box or has the ability to get women on not like a playboy, but is not starved for sex, paying money to check out a woman dancing around, especially with all the damn free prawn out there, right? Why would you pay a subscription to a chick to see her do whatever she does? It shows a level of desperation that men are in that's also part of the problem. I wouldn't just put that on black men. I would imagine that $1 million came from the diaspora, whatever that is, but it's still indicative of where men are. So we got this problem, and you're right. It's just no way to solve it because it's the chicken, the egg, or the puppet masters have commercialism at the top of their list. I remember when OnlyFans came out with that ruse that they were going to stop women from doing what they were doing. It would have been one of the worst business decisions since Coca-Cola tried to change the formula, right? So somebody said to this guy, there's no way you're going to stop women from making money the way they want to on OnlyFans. And I think it was a ruse. I think it was a way to get women for them to gauge the marketing of how bad women wanted to stay the way it was. And there was a big outcry from the sex workers for them not to change OnlyFans. It was huge. It was like a movement. And I think they just got the metric they were looking for. And then it went to where it's at today. Anyway, so, I don't know how we get past this thing, but the one thing men can do is to keep standing on our square. I think we're starting to see more and more men stand up and reject women, like you say, especially women that's no good. Listen, okay, yeah, you're sexy. Yeah, I can, yeah, I would love to knock it out, but I think you'll be more trouble than you're worth. Right?
Yeah, there's a video going viral right now of a man. They were in one of those like smash or pass type things.
Yeah.
And the man told her straight up, "You're a liability and you need therapy."
Yeah, I saw that.
and
She
that's
was
that.
bad. She was bad.
Yeah, but he was right. I mean, that's what it's come down to is that you're gonna have to start telling women straight up, like, you are a liability to me. Especially if you're a guy who's worked for something. You work for something, you earn something. Stop taking on liabilities. I've never understood that. It doesn't make any sense. And stop being afraid to tell a woman, you don't do anything good for me here. I don't get better with you here. I only can get worse. I can only lose by being with you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I've heard it before, and I said it myself. The biggest decision you can make, and the most dangerous decision you can make, is the woman that you let into your house, right? Because this not because just like women have men as their apex predator, and we've changed laws and society to make sure we protect them. There's no protections the other way around. In fact, there's still too much deference. A woman could take a man who's otherwise just a decent dude and actually destroy him, and if you let her in, right? And even if you don't let her in, if you have, I mean, the laws are so messed up, but let's just talk about marriage. If you marry the wrong woman, it could set you back for a lifetime, depending on when she leaves. All right. She leaves when you're 30 or something like that and tries to take you to the cleaners, you might have some time to recover. But at 60 or 65, not so much, you know?
Here's the
So,
thing. Let me tell you something about it. Because there's been a solution to this, but people have not noticed that. I said it before and I said it again. Men going forward have to build a tribe. You can just forget about the community. There's no community at all.
what tribe? What do you mean by tribe?
Tribe is like getting people who have the same ideology that you have, or in the same direction and you network with those kind of people. If you don't understand it by now, look at all the
Well, but,
multiple
but,
community.
but some people
But
call community.
let me
Yeah.
explain to you about it.
All
Look
right.
at the multiple community we have in this country today, who are not quote unquote American, from the Asian, which include
Right.
the Chinese, the
Yeah.
South Korean, the Singapore, and sort of to the
Right.
Middle East as well in African. If you notice, they have a tight knit community and they keep themselves in a bond. They have gatekeepers. Whatever Britain trying to put within themselves, they make sure they thrive within themselves as a tribe. They ain't not trying to build a community because there's no community. And some of these people take that tribe and take it international. These people have meetings. They sit together and build things within themselves in quiet, in silo. Black people don't know how to do it, but those who know how to do it, Kevin Samuel have been saying it for too long. There have been nothing but a brain drain. The highly intellectual, the highly educated people, well-grounded Black people are taking themselves away from the Black community and building their own new silo in silence. It has been going on for more than a decade. The problem, a lot of
This,
people don't know about it.
Black Dave, before you go further, I know what you meant by tribe, but to me, it's the same as building a community, but it's an exclusive community. It's a silo that you're talking about, but it's just in a language that we might explain. And it's not just Black people, because, like you said, Black Africans, Black Haitians, Black people who immigrate here know how to do that. And the one thing I do say about Black Americans, and I believe the subculture is going to die off, is we're the only people talking about integration. Nobody else talks about that shit but Black Americans. Nobody really is championing for integrations except us and the liberals who run the Democratic Party so they could use Black people by telling us that we'll protect you if you keep voting for us, which is the biggest goddamn lie in the whole world. So I'm just saying, so I know where you're coming from, but the fact that there's so many moving parts to building this silo you're talking about because of the free information, the internet, and people going their own way. You're right. The Black community has a class problem. And the class problem is the silos that you're talking about. Black Americans who make a certain amount of money are kind of trying to coalesce around each other in the neighborhoods where everybody else can't come to. They just don't protect it enough because they might not let their kids, they might not do enough to keep their kids from traveling back to the hood. That's why a rich man like the football player's son thinks he's a gangster or some shit like that because he didn't protect him from going back to the hood thinking he could be part of the team when he hasn't seen a hungry day in his life. So,
That due
so
to
I don't know.
media, which I understand. That due to
Yeah,
media. or the door took it to the next level. They understood that because let's be honest, I'm not going to put Africa into the map of things. And who have been out there, Trey know that there's a black community in China, there's a black community in Japan, there's a black community in Brazil, there's a black community in Germany, or multiple countries that have been going on for more than 2 to 3 decades. A lot of bums who never been outside, they could never been beyond 8,000 miles, never seen no such thing. Yes, I said it. I got 2 passports, you
That's
bum.
fine. That's fine.
Not 1, but 2. Don't ask me how I got there. But like I was saying, this is the problem. People are not exposed to the truth and to the fact of what's going on out there beside their four corner of their neighborhoods. And that's why they come out here and make all type of stupid noise what they say on TikTok, which is really understandable. TikTok should have gone down a long time ago. But right now, the people in Congress are trying to figure out how to do it because they don't know how to do it themselves because this is beyond them. They don't have the knowledge or the will to how to deal with that. That's someone like me who been in IT for over 22 freaking years. I understand there's a lot of things they're not going to grasp because they're going too far beyond their knowledge. When I say people got to get rid of all the old fogey in Congress because these old fogey don't know what the hell is going on right now.
Let's pause there for a second, okay? Because I got the old fogey, uniform on and shit. But I hear what I'm only joking. I hear what you're saying. Listen, I disagree with any form of censorship. I don't agree that TikTok should be banned, but that's another story for another stream. So it really is because we can go down that rabbit hole and have a whole nother stream on that one. But I have my reasons. I argue with people about that all the time. But I hear what you're saying. CBN. I do. What is it? What's Easy Money saying now?
Tell me that make any sense. I read that thing quickly 5 times. I'm like, really?
So
Seriously?
listen, Easy Money. There's 1,000 reasons for every person who wants to leave the country. There's a different reason for them to do. So I mean, again,
We're talking about a man who doesn't travel and is married.
Yeah.
That he doesn't understand this. There are certainly reasons to leave this country. For one, the cost of living. Let's just start there.
Right.
It's cheaper to live in other countries to get the same thing. Number 2, the food is healthier. Let's start there. There's 2. I just gave you 2 reasons off the bat, right there. How about culture? Other countries have better culture, have more respectable cultures. Ever been to Japan? So this idea, we have no reason to leave the country. Absolutely, you have a reason to leave the country if that's what you seek. If you seek a better living situation, if you seek to make your money work better for you, then you have a reason to leave. Like some of the stuff that this caping that these guys do, it just like y'all don't even make sense. Like it would make sense if you came from a place where it was sensible. Y'all don't even make sense.
I hear you, man. Tell them like
leave,
it is,
sir, because you have a wife and kids, so you can't go anywhere. You're stuck unless you take your ball and chain and your kids with you.
Why I gotta be a ball and chain?
No, let's not forget. No, let's not forget. We are using a lot of international companies that have been built by people from outside the country. We're using Sony, using Samsung, and for the past 2 decades, there have been more than 100 new businesses that have been created outside the country that expand inside the country. And people are working for them. So, what is there? Oh, there's no reason to leave. If I have a business that they're gonna work from outside before it can bring it back in here, I would do it. If it end up being a multi-billion-dollar business in less than 5 years, what happened? You might end up working for me, and I'll still call you a bum afterwards. What could I say after that, bums?
Hey, yeah, I'm looking at some of the chat, man. That's why I'm laughing a little bit, man. Some of it is funny, man. But anyway, so gentlemen, listen. Okay, so what's our solution to this? How do we change the propaganda? How do we start to? I mean, this is like a part of what I'm thinking, that men need to stand up and say, listen, there's no such thing as toxic masculinity, and I'll argue with you until one of us is blue in the face that you're wrong about that. So how do we change the narrative and make it grow? Anybody?
I would say that one, We don't have our own media. When we do have our own media institution, you can change the narrative. So that's one of the biggest things I've been saying for the past 2 years. Everybody said they want change. Who willing to put in the work to make the change? When you're not willing to put in the work to make the change, it's better to shut the hell up. Otherwise, stop complaining about it. When we have someone who is actually making a change and building something, support the person. Don't be too quick to judge. When you quick to jump on somebody else's bandwagon, knowing that person is not good for you. As in, for example, Tubi. Who owns Tubi? How many black bums go there to watch Tubi and support the one who we trying to throw you from day one? Make it make sense. This is what I say. I am allergic to stupid people. That's just me. I'm being bluntly honest. I don't like stupid people. If I have my way, I will power bomb a stupid person and keep it pushing. That's just me. Because
CBN.
I'm not
Easy money.
not being violent. I'm just saying that people who don't want to
CBN, drop
educate
the
themselves.
link for
Drop the
Easy.
link.
That's what he's trying to do.
Easy Money wants to
Okay.
come up, man. Drop the link.
Okay. I'm just
So
trying to say some people don't want to educate themselves with the truth and the fact. They've never been outside their country. They've never been to other places and see how things are different. But those who have, those who ever been out there, create businesses, not only grow, but end up coming back in here and expand. It's more of an attachment to the main business. People don't comprehend how they got their job. As long as they get their paycheck and run their mouth. And they do that. And I find that very, very disturbing.
Well, yeah, I do. So I hear you, and you're not wrong. So, but we'll come back to Easy Money. What do you have, man?
All right, so we're supposed to be talking about toxic masculinity, right?
We did talk about toxic, man. What do you mean supposed to be? We are talking about it. Go ahead.
What was the definition that was given?
You want me to go back to the definition?
Yeah, and I just missed that part. I want to understand the context that we're using it in.
All right. Okay. You ready for it?
Yeah.
Okay. So listen, I wrote a piece on toxic masculinity, and what I did was define it. I said toxic masculinity, right, is defined as, right, the set of qualities, attributes, and characteristics or behaviors and roles associated with men and boys, traits traditionally viewed as masculine in our society include strength, courage, independence, leadership, and assertiveness. And that's what I put.
Okay, now everything makes more sense. So the pushback is more so on the characteristics and qualities that they ascribe to the definition of toxic masculinity, while at the same time those things could be attributed to masculinity. And the summary that you guys got was that essentially anything associated with masculinity, they're saying is toxic.
No, we didn't say that. I put up the first video, and a woman tried to explain toxic masculinity by shaming and insulting all the men. Right? She actually said that thousands of years ago, when the tribal leaders went out to hunt and brought food back because they had to be aggressive, that's toxic masculinity. That's what she actually said. That she's an idiot. Now she said, well, and the men who do that today, carry it on. Well, men don't hunt with spears like that unless they have to, but we hunt other ways in order for us to protect and to build our families. And none of that is toxic unless they have a character flaw. See, the
Now,
whole issue is that there's nothing toxic about your manhood. But there are toxic people. Like Trey said, I said this before, there's toxic men and there's toxic women, but it's not a human trait, it's a character flaw.
but according to what Trey said, what it told you that a lot of medical professionals have confirmed it. It was the term used in prison.
They didn't confirm anything. They just used the term in prison.
No, when I say what Trey was talking about, a lot of medical professionals who work in the field of psychology say they use that term for the men in prison, not the men in present society. It was a term being used how men act and conduct themselves while they were in prison. That was the term we used, and some retarded bum ass idiot took that phrase and make it think this is how men act in
But
today's society.
CBN, I would argue with them even in prison. That's not toxic masculinity. It's just criminals doing what they do in prison.
Well, it was psychologists. They had to come up with something. They were trying to explain all of the violence. There was a lot of violence that was happening in prison. And that's the study they came up with. They did a study, and these psychologists came up with toxic masculinity as a term to use to explain why they were having this overabundance of male-on-male violence. And then for some reason, it just kind of trickled out of the prison system and into the world because
I heard that.
And
there's
Dr.
violence
McCombie,
with men on
and
men. So
information
it's toxic masculinity. It's not
speak
toxic
on that. Dr. McCombie and more information men speak on that. And they said that's what the term was being used. The problem is we got too many bum-ass people using that term in today's society. That's why they just have everybody to be called a bum. If you don't understand the root cause of that terminology and use it for the wrong reason, words have meaning.
Okay, but
That being said,
CBN, I don't agree. Listen, those same psychologists changed the damn definition of shit just because of propaganda. It used to be. Wait a minute, man. For the whole reason why they call it toxic masculinity doesn't mean it really exists. You take two men who have nothing to lose, what you expect them to act like in prison?
Which is totally understandable.
It's not masculine. It has nothing to do with that.
And that's totally understandable. But remember, when it comes to psychology, people trying to find a definition to put a label on.
I agree with that.
No, I'm not agreeing. I'm not agreeing with it. All I'm saying, where did it come from? And when people don't understand where that comes from, and when you use that terminology that were based on a study concerning people in a confined place and placed it on the general public, those people have every right to be considered as a bum, as useless, undesirable element, good for nothing jackasses. Shall I go on with it? Because they're not
no, we get it.
Easy money. Go ahead and talk while he's up here. We spent some time getting his ass up here. Come on, man, give us something that's worthwhile. How about that?
Well, I get. So I wanted to understand the context in which you guys were using it, because you guys were making it sound like that you guys were saying things in terms of basic masculinity, and that's not my understanding of the term. That's why I was confused for a lot of it, because toxic essentially means that there is an unhealthily elevated level of something. So you can have Tylenol or acetaminophen or medications that you're supposed to take, but if you take too many, it can become toxic. And so the way that I understood the word, and in some of the readings that I did on it, was like this overabundance of masculinity, like relying on these characteristics to a toxic level, if you will. So that's the way I understood toxic masculinity.
Give me one of the characteristics that, if you overuse it, is toxic masculinity. Assertiveness?
Assertiveness, yeah. Assertiveness could be.
Okay, now you fell into my trap. Because assertiveness, wait a minute, let me finish. Because there's assertive women. That doesn't make them toxic. That doesn't make it toxic masculinity. It just means their character flaws, that their assertiveness leaves a lot of dead bodies in their wake. It has nothing to do with you being man or woman, right? So all I'm just trying to say is it's not toxic masculinity because your assertiveness is out of control. Like, it's almost like saying hubris.
No, that is toxic. That's true. That is toxic, though.
Toxic, but it's not toxic masculinity.
Let me add to what you're just saying. If it's toxic, then every CEO in every company should step down because they want to make sure they get their profit. Let's put that in perspective right now.
Yeah, men or women then.
So that being said, there should be a law to take down every overexploited people who are CEOs and owner of the company.
Before you go
am I correct, Arcane? I'm being.
You got to be careful. You're gonna activate my socialism card, David. Because I can go that way with you.
You can go that way, and I'm being technical because that will be a backfire on your behalf. Because when people talk about assertiveness, you're not going to have the company that build the infrastructure that we live in today's society right now, would we?
Did Easy Money just say he was a socialist?
I am a socialist.
He said that. And all I'm saying, if you remove that, then everything that told the bedrock foundation of this country should have fallen a long time ago, and we'll fall back to what? age we'll be in. So let's put that in perspective. I'm more about technicality. With me, I make sure you have no room to escape. Period.
Oh my God.
I'm
Black
coming.
David,
I'm coming
Black
here.
David been
I'm
cracking me
sorry.
up, man.
Today I'm the headhunter. So when you bring something in here, I will bring the technicality. When I get to a head, I'll put it on the shelf. So who's next?
You're like a WWF wrestler cutting promos, man. It's hilarious watching you in this box talk like you
Hey,
talk.
I'm just saying, I'm coming to collect head. I'm from Brooklyn. We don't deal with the BS. And out here in Brooklyn, either you keep it real or you shut the hell up. Because that's why all the trolls in the chat room don't want to mess with me. Because I'll tell you in your face, if you're not being real with me, shut the hell up. You got no solid evidence. Keep your mouth shut. Oh, you did nothing but an empty barrel making too much goddamn noise. That's the problem. You're not speaking fact. Everybody want to be emotional. Like you want to grab your penny for what? Oh, come on. Be logical about it. Be
Be
technical about
logical
it.
about what? I'm sorry.
When people talk about over assertiveness, this is how we have today. The building you live in, the road we have, the technology, the phone we use, the computer we use, and so on and so forth. If these people were not assertive how to get this thing done, where would we be right now? Let's put that in
Well, is
perspective.
that assertive? Is that assertive, or is that being ambitious? I guess we need to get that established. Because if you're
Everybody
talking
have
about
a everybody have a vision. I do know that very well. But who willing to go that far to get it done?
a psychopath, a sociopath, and guess what that would mean? Toxic, toxic.
Trey, you want to answer this one? Because I don't think he realized I just let a chop for him. Go ahead.
Y'all in these
Nope.
traps. I'm still waiting on the first
Nope.
trap to unhinge.
Nope.
What's going on?
Listen, anytime men decide to put on their capes, you gotta let them be, man. That's where I'm at in 2024. You gotta let them rock. If he wants to, if you, that's the route he wants to go, you got it, man. You're
Well,
right. Men are toxic. Toxic masculinity is ruining society. It is what it is.
I mean, if we want to go that route, kind of down the capitalism route I was talking about, I mean, it is. I
Hey,
mean, think
that's
about it
it.
like this: like in the '80s, these people were going to banks, getting all the money to buy these companies. They took out loans against the company, pocketed the profits, and then shut the company down. And took pensions, took health care, and ruined dreams, and caused foreclosures. Right? Like capital, too much capitalism has put us in late stage capitalism. At this point, the capitalists are buying land. We're at the end of this thing. Like we're in the end stages. Like our children are going to be in houses owned by the company that they work for, who's going to watch everything that they do in the house and listen to every conversation. That is the world we are leaving for our children
Well, okay,
because of
so tell me.
capitalism.
Well, okay, but instead of making this a communist manifesto, okay, tell me
I'm not
how
a
that's.
communist. Come on now.
Well,
Communists are
hold on
dirty.
now. Well, I said communist on purpose because you're just like one brick away from being from socialism to communism. So anyway, all I'm just trying to say is this: how is that toxic? How is that toxic masculinity, the capitalism in overload? If anything, it's wait a minute. In anything, the commercialism of capitalism is pro gynocracy because they spend money. They spend more money than men. Let me also tell you that most men, right, if left up to their own druthers as single men, they just find a place to live and have a big screen TV, a nice bed, and maybe some aesthetics if they have that, just so when they bring some honeys over, they can knock some boots in a clean house. So it's only when they marry and get women in their life, and let's just say a good woman, that they would expand the household so the woman can make a home of it so they can have children. As long as you give me a place where I can go and decompress, then the rest of the house is yours, honey. That's what we say to women. So the point is this horse shit that all you say has nothing to do with toxic masculinity. Matter of fact, most men are the most benevolent men in the world. You know why? Because we created a society for women to be safe in at our own detriment at a lot of levels. That's why a woman could 30 years ago, you grabbed her butt or you had consensual sex, and she could 30 years ago, she could misunderstand what it was back then and hold you in court today for some shit that happened 30 years ago. You know,
You should have got consent.
that's what men has allowed to do. We went overboard. So come on, man. I mean, there's nothing toxic about men masculinity. There's toxic men, but not their masculinity. I argue with that shit. Even in the prison shit, these guys are killers, rapists, and all kinds of stuff. What do you expect them to play patty cake with each other? I don't need to be a psychologist to say that something's crazy in there. You know, so it's all
I
bullshit.
mean,
I would tell
I
the
mean that's
psychologists that they're full of shit too. Okay, I'm gonna land it there. You know,
yeah,
okay,
yeah, and I guess I'm a little confused because it feels like the message that you're taking from this is we're calling masculinity in and of itself toxic,
that's
and
what
I don't
the
think anyone
propaganda
has said
said.
that.
No.
Then
It's
you
not
haven't
only
been
you
watching.
said that. The whole propaganda movement is to do that, so they could belittle masculinity in men. That's why they take little
Now,
boys in classrooms.
if that
Wait
were
a
the
minute,
case,
CBN. Wait a second. They take little boys in classroom, give them Ritalin and all kinds of shit, and try to so go against their nature because they're a little bit more aggressive. So they try to make them act more like girls in the classroom because we got so many female teachers. And we got drug companies said, well, just give them this goddamn pill and we'll change them. Stop. I mean, just stop it. Yeah. There's a
What's
war
wrong with
on
getting
men. There's
someone
a
the
war on
medicine for what they?
masculinity. There's a war going on
what?
masculinity.
What?
Why can't you
Idi Mo-
choose to medicate your child?
Idi Man, Idi Money, I ought to tell you this, right? You're lucky there's no psychologist here who understand that study way more than you do. And you make that thing right there, they will eat you alive because they'll tell you
I
something's
didn't
wrong
say
with
you
your body.
can't choose to medicate your child. Only
What,
if he
what you
Well,
you
needs
just
it.
you just own juices and berries over there, Black
Only,
David?
only if he needs it.
first and
Not
foremost, let
because
me be
somebody
honest with you.
recommended it.
The kind of tribe I've come from, if anyone use any kind of medicine to medicate our kid, chances is that family tree will not be existing no more. Will be erased immediately. This is how African men don't play around with that type of nonsense. That's why you see a lot of African men call American men weak because they're like, you allow such nonsense to happen in your backyard. To medicate your child for what? Because your child is aggressive, your child has a lot of energy. That is natural. So why want to put something artificial in a body that's made by natural means? For what purpose? That is beyond stupid. This is why my kids' friends say I'm the type of guy that beat up people because they look at me, they say, yeah, I'm intimidating. Yeah, in person, I could be very, very intimidating. I have a reason to be so. I'm a man, I'm a father. My job is to protect my household. So everyone across that line are all me, be my guest. Give me a reason to be happy to body slam me. That'd be the great thing for me. But to medicate your kid because your kid have a lot of energy,
Let's go. He dropped out.
that's just stupid.
What do you mean that's stupid?
Are you trying to tell your kid retarded?
No, I don't.
No, you say to medicate the kid because they got too much energy. I mean, your kid is retarded then, right?
Not
No, that's more of an IQ issue than an attention issue.
No, no, no,
That's
no,
two
no.
different things.
That's what the agenda was. Information Man did multiple episodes about these things, about the agenda. Unless no one want to read the books and read the documentation and read the facts and read the investigation, it's better for them not to speak on it. That's how been going on for a long time. This way, when they got caught, they stopped doing it. What I tell people I'm an African who had to read
Okay.
and make you know what I'm talking about. But if you want to say that's not the case, then you're telling the people who do the investigation are liars.
CBN, before we go too far down this thing, I want to make sure we keep it to toxic behavior, toxic masculinity.
I know this is toxic because
Wait a second, CBN. Just wait a second. Let me just kind of guide this the way I want to. What I'm trying to say to you, Easy Money, is that in order to effeminate and control men, the best way to start is when they're kids, right? The best way to start is when they're kids. You take kids who are a little bit unruly because they're boys, they got testosterone, they're starting to grow into their adolescence. They're going to be more aggressive than girls. And if you try to take that away from them, then they're going to grow up less aggressive than they need to be productive men. And they'll be more docile, they'll be more easy to control. and they'll be less likely to be assertive the way they need to be to run families and things of that nature. That's what I'm talking
But
about. So
that's not how
wait,
any of
before
that works, though.
let me finish. What I'm saying to you is that toxic masculinity is an attack on male masculinity. It's not just a phrase that the propagandists are talking about. They want to emasculate men by attacking their nature, by their masculinity. That's what it's all about. That's what this whole stream is about. That's why
What is the game,
that's why
though?
we talk about women being masculine, right? I don't like calling women masculine. All I'm trying to say is the women who say they're more masculine because men are absent, they're full of shit. They're more masculine because they want to be, because they think it's superior to being feminine. And here's the thing: we don't never say toxic femininity. You know why? Because the shit doesn't make sense. Just like toxic masculinity should make sense unless it was propagandized, not only by women, by men like you who would agree with that shit. You know what I'm saying? Stop. Just stop. Just stop. That's what I'm saying.
So, but Arpane, to that point, what is the game for emasculating men? Like, what's the game? Like,
I
why
said it
would
in my
someone have an
leadership.
agenda to do that?
Yes, you know why the game is? Because women, the modern woman can't stand the gender roles. So if you emasculate men, you bring them down to being effeminate like women, so they can start viewing the world from the prism that women view it from. So now there's no something when you find men who say, well, there's no roles in marriage. There's no roles between men and women. We're the same. That's antithetical, antithetical to human nature. We are born to be different. It's a synergy. It's the yin and the yang of life, that men behave like this and women behave like that. I want to tell you before we go further. Hey, CBN, can you bring up my piece again? My written piece. I want to show you something. I want to show you. Stay here. Just bring that back up. The written piece from Thinking Out Loud, the PDF. Okay, if we can enlarge the last piece, that box with human nature, right? If a little bit bigger, right? Because when we want to talk about human nature, the difference between men and women, and we're not talking about, we can start to read a little bit of that, right? I have my cursor somewhere. Oops. All right. So on the male side, we talk about male nature, and on the female side, we got, if you could get them both on there, that'd be great. You know, just so we can have that comparison. Oops. There you go. All right. So listen, whether you agree with this or not, this is thanks, to the Crimson Cure for talking about this. I put this piece together in 2021. And we're talking about male nature and female nature. This is something that Ebony K. Williams just recently said, that this is an inherent conflict between men and women. She still doesn't get everything she's starting to do as she's going through her so-called transition to womanhood, right? For the male nature, we could try to argue these things, but provision is one of those kind of things, whether we're married or not. That's something that men want to have something to do, even if it's just providing for themselves and their family around them. Problem solving is something we do because we have to, right? Protection is something that's natural to men, and not all men are tough. I can grant you that, so we don't have to get into that argument. But we still supposed to be able to defend ourselves, right? Procreation. Well, that's part of our nature. We got all these sperm cells in our nutsack because we want to procreate. That's God given. You know, just order, right? If you look at women's chaos to men's order, men try to be orderly. Not all men, but men who have a goal, they try to do it in some kind of order that they can measure, right? And before I get too far, let's just go see the first five for women. Insight. Well, a lot of women do have insight for the here and now. What they lack is foresight. In order for women to see the future and see how they would be in the future, every so often they need a man to tell them, okay, that's what you sound like now. But 10, 15, 20 years from now, you're not going to be saying the same thing. Because this is what I told my daughter. Let me just rant for a second. I told them, like, if you don't want to get married, I can't make you. I want you to. And they all have boyfriend and stuff. But I said, listen, the reason why you want to have kids and want to get married, because at 45, when your biological clock tells you can't have children anymore, you're going to think differently than you do as a 24-year-old woman. Because now something natural to you is going to close. And if you can't see yourself at 45 to 50, and you're only thinking like a 24-year-old, you're going to miss something, because your mindset is going to be different when that door closes. You have to be prepared for that if you didn't meet your biological imperative. They need somebody like me to tell them that. The nesting, women will nest in even bad situations. They do. Women nest in great situations, and they nest in bad situations. We see that all around us. Right? Beauty. That's something that women, that's why our sisters have a psychosis of wearing wigs and all that shit. Because they see the attention of being beautiful as something they need.
So men are ugly?
Well, let me go on my soliloquy. You can talk after I'm finished. But, go ahead. Say what you're going to say.
No, it was just a question. So men are just ugly? I'm not ugly. I'm a beautiful man. I'm handsome.
I didn't say men that's ugly. It's a cross for protection. Men don't mind being handsome, but we don't the average man doesn't spend an inordinate amount of time trying to be beautiful. Stop. We don't. We can accept some of our flaws and all that. We don't go to great lengths to put makeup on and shit to hide a pimple. Come on, man.
That's why we have hats. We wear hats to hide our imperfections, right?
No. Some men don't mind being bald. Some men don't mind being bald, man. Stop. Listen, fertility. Women, we want to procreate. Women's natural imperative is fertility. That's why men crave for fertile women. We do. We can accept the older one, but okay, so order and chaos, the yin and yang of life. Women, the chaos is not necessarily a negative thing, but it just says that women are impulsive emotionally. And every so often, when you have a man who could be emotional, of course, but when the yin and the yang is together, the man puts order towards what you're married. See, if you're married, right, just like I am, every so often you got to put some order to your wife, right? It doesn't have to be a mandate. You got to let her know, hey, hon, why don't we do it this way? So you can get what you need emotionally. I don't say it like this, but you can get what you need emotionally, and we don't have to go off the rails to do it. And so leadership and submission. Well, women hate the word submission. We could put cooperation in that one. Right? Because like I was going to say to Trey, that like my wife never stopped being a woman in the 36 years we've been married, but she's never stopped flopping her female wings. Right? The only difference is the wind beneath her wings is not turbulence. It's something I can live with. It's not turbulence. So when women flop, man, some of the time they're turbulent. And men should never accept being under a turbulent ass woman. So selflessness and selfish. Women are, it's not a bad term. Men in relationships are more selfless. Women are more selfish, but it doesn't mean that it's completely negative. There's certain things that need to be satisfied for them to keep moving forward. So they think inwardly on what's best for them more than they think about everybody else. So it's up to us to show them that you can't get everything you want, baby. So that's what I'm trying to say. Polygamy versus hypergamy, right? Doesn't make it right or wrong, but women are hypergamous. We say it all the time. I think men should be a little bit more hypergamous than they are. And men are polygamy, whether they exercise it or not, men like to sleep around, right? And their strength and power. Now, that's a big one. Women could never be as strong as men, but they damn sure their femininity is the most powerful force on the face of the earth if they wield it properly. And then, you got the creative culture, and then women pass on culture. And right now in the black community, they're passing on the most ratchet shit that we've ever seen. Right. So I mean, so all I'm just trying to say, there are some natural things about men and women that we need to get under control, because one is the yin and the other one's the yang. And that's all I'm just trying to say. What say you, brother?
You got it, R-Pain. I ain't got nothing.
Why you say
I,
that, man?
I ain't
Wait,
got nothing,
okay,
man.
okay. So are you saying that I have a point there or not?
You made some points in there. You made some points. I'll leave it at that. You had points.
Thank you, thank you. And but it's not pointed at you. I'm just saying that I'm glad that you came up, because it reminded me that I was supposed to go through that list. I almost forgot it. So anyhow, man, listen, it's always a pleasure having you up. Hey, CBN, and you can pop back on. I think we should go ahead and come to the end of whatever final thoughts we need, and then we can move on. I think it's been a good. I appreciate everybody in the chat. I know y'all been going at it. Trey has been keeping it lively and stuff, which is great. I just haven't been able to put my chops in there to be in the chat like everybody else.
When we come to deal with this topic with toxic masculinity, I could not deal with the hypocrisy behind it, because one, if you want to call out toxic masculinity, then we have toxic femininity, and we have way more of that of the female side than of the masculine side. Because let's be honest with you, there's a lot of BS have been going on for the past couple of years. We now find out they've been lying about it. It's like the brick lady. Now, I wish you can give her 20 years in prison, and use that as an example. So if any female want to cock up any type of fake story and say, "Oh, black men don't do this," what I'm saying, black men should not defend nobody. If that person not in your domain, according to Take Heed to the Message, she is not worth defending. Period. Like I said, I will sit down, get some popcorn, get some drink, and watch you get your ass whooped. I'm not going to protect you. You're not in my domain. You're not my responsibility. It's what it is. And those in my domain, I went to turn into bear paw and whoop that behind, one way or the other, or break it to pieces. That's who I am. That's how I built myself to be. I'm a grizzly bear, an African grizzly bear, and I'm proud of it.
Do they
So
got
when
grizzlies
anyone,
in Africa? Do they have
when
grizzlies in
I'm gonna be the first one.
Africa?
I'm gonna be the first breed. I'll bring more after that.
That's
But
funny,
my
man.
thing is this: I don't want to hear when people want to call our trait toxic, but yet when we want someone to defend you, look out for you, fix things, build things for you, it's not toxic. I'm not playing that game. I don't deal with BS. And where I was brought up, the type of men I've been around, they don't got time for BS. It's either a yes or it's a no. It's either black or it's white. We don't do all this emotional roller coaster. We take that thing with a harpoon and shoot it and keep it moving. He ain't got time for it.
That's funny, man.
Hey,
All
this is who I am. I
right.
tried to hold this part of me back for multiple years, but sometimes when I feel I'm about to lose, I have to go to the gym and spend like these 4 to 5 hours and just unleash that massive amount of rage onto the
I
weight.
hear you. I hear you.
That's why I'm a grizzly bear. But people
And Paul
around me say the wrong
Better
thing.
got you. Paul Better say,
Hey,
ain't no grizzlies in Africa.
yeah, I'll be the first breed.
Hey, listen, man, CBN, man, thanks for popping up,
Just the
bro.
first greedy bear in Africa right now, okay? They call
Thanks for
Black
popping
David.
up, man. Thanks. I appreciate, man, you setting those videos up and doing all that stuff, man, for the network, and I appreciate it, of course.
No, it's
Okay.
okay. I think it's going with TikTok. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Well, listen, there's TikTok, man. We need TikTok because we need content. Go ahead, go ahead, EC. What you got?
Yeah. So, first of all, thanks for having me up, RP, and I appreciate you. Black David, as always, a king, man. I appreciate you, man, for everything you do. No, but seriously, I really do appreciate everything you do and what you bring to the panel, man. Like so I know sometimes you don't intend to be funny, but I do find it hilarious. But I do get your message, okay? So I appreciate you for being so entertaining. I'll say this, man. Like I really try to listen to the people when they say, "Hey, there's this war on masculinity," right? Because for me, being a man, that's obviously something that's against me, right? So obviously, I've got to be on the lookout for it. And from where I sit within our patriarchal structure, I don't feel like masculinity is under attack. I've never heard a woman say, "We don't want you to be masculine. We don't want you to help us and be strong and open the pickle jar and all of that," right? There's not a woman alive who doesn't want that. Period. Point blank. Well, hey, there's not a straight woman alive that doesn't want that, right? Where we as men have to do better is finding that line between at what point is this masculinity helpful and at what point does it become too much and potentially toxic for the situation. And that's where we as men need to spend more time to kind of understand those boundaries and where to go, and also giving yourself the grace if you go too far in a particular situation, right? So I don't think anyone is saying that they want men to be less masculine, putting people in dresses and all the other stuff. There's no agenda because there's no benefit to that. Within the capitalist structure, you need labor. And if you take men out of their masculine and they don't reproduce, then you've got a problem with your labor force. Okay? Period, point blank. So with that, keep being masculine, keep being a man, easy out.
All right, man. Hey,
Yep.
listen. You know what? In my final thoughts, I easy said a couple things. One, he's not attuned to this thing because he's not looking right. Right? He's not seeing what's around him. I mean, especially if he's in these YouTube spaces. Of course, women have saying they want men to be more emotionally intelligent, meaning that the men are supposed to be softer, try to see the world through their eyes. That's emasculating because we're not supposed to see the world through a woman's eyes. We might empathize with some of the shit that they're talking about, but we're not supposed to see the world through the female prism. We're supposed to see it through the prism of a man's eyes. And we have to see it how it is and not necessarily how you want it to be. You could aspire to change things, but like I said, the freedoms and the security that women enjoy in America is the freedoms that men provide, the security that men provide. That's why they take it too far. That's why they think they could walk outside butt naked and nobody's supposed to say anything to them. That somebody's supposed to treat them like a queen when their tits are out and their nipples are all hard, and pointing right in your face, as opposed to somebody respecting you for the woman you are. This is one of the arguments I have with people who say, I don't know nothing about women. I would submit to you that I know more about women than most guys in the modern era because I'm not trying to stroke them, right? A lot of guys just reduce women to how much sex they can get from them. I stopped doing that a long time ago. And guess what that means? That means I got to look at women for more than just what they could provide to me sexually. Now, unless you believe that your whole life centers around your box, there's more for me to learn about you than how good you could be in the bedroom. And that's what I've done. And I go back to this, and maybe one day me and Trey will ask this, that my wife has never stopped being a woman. That means, what that really means is I haven't stopped treating her like a woman that I wooed so many years ago. Some of those things she still likes. Some of those things I don't mind providing. And I like treating her like a woman, man, because that's what she is. And I said just once already on this stream, when she flops her wings, and she's never stopped that since the day she said I do to me, because I never try to discourage her from being a woman. The only thing that the wind beneath her wings do is not turbulence. That's the important thing. She doesn't make our life turbulent. Anyway, so let me end it there. We listen. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity in any forms, even in the prison. There's just desperate killer men that are gonna do what killer men do. It's not toxic. It's not masculine. It's just survival. And of course, that it's only toxic when women will masculinity because they don't know how to use it, and they use excuses for bad behavior. and this whole horse shit that I had to be the mother and the father. I've never heard a man who raised his own kids saying I have to be the man and a woman. I never heard that. I never heard that. If you have, show me the clip. Anyway, on that, hey, everybody in the chat, thanks for coming up. Dr., Nikumbe, Dr. Mr. Bennett, everybody else, I guess I'm not Sugar Plum anymore, even you. Everybody, I appreciate the support, and I'll see you next Monday with a new interesting topic, like I always do. Our pain over and out.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle. Wait a minute, work hard for the car, so that's why it's all tinted. Wait a minute, had a real late night, woke up with my head spinning out Nashville. It's been mad real, I need sunglasses, I need Advil. I like fake moves, and my cash real. I like first place, you're in last still. Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle.
Look, pocket rocket in my pocket, please don't make me pop it. All these boys just wanna copy the style, tell them niggas stop it. Whoa, it's my destiny, feeling like Latoya, like it found me my Beyonce, and she shotgun in the cockpit. Grinding with the team, make casinos. In my pocket still full of green, call it CeeLo. Alligator watch on me, Tim Tebow. And these haters love to watch me like Tebow. Look, I don't take L's, I just learn a lesson. Before I count the M's, always count my blessings. Look, I'm too short, never second guessing. Got some money, put up for the rain, so I'm never stressing.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles.